What's going on, everyone? And welcome to another episode of Writing Friction. And as always, today's guest is pretty cool and actually someone I know. Everyone say hello to Vlad Holiday. How are you, Vlad?
How's it going? I'm good.
I'm good. Quick question before we even started. I did forgot to ask you the violin behind you, top your right shoulder.
Yeah,
Is there a story? I think that was that a thing you posted on Instagram? You've been fucking with that?
I have been fucking with it. Yeah. Yeah, that was one of those like quarantine hobbies that I took on.
Uh-huh.
And I'm getting pretty good actually. Like I can hold, yeah. I've been taking so I bought this from a store here in Greenwich Village called Music Inn.
Okay.
And yeah, if anybody out there is interested to check out, whether you're in New York or not, there's like some like documentary on them on YouTube, I think. But it's like a really insane music store with all kinds of like instruments that you've never heard of, and the owner also builds his own stuff. It's like it's pretty insane. It looks, I can't even really describe what it looks like in there.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I went there and I bought this violin, and I think it's like I bought it for I think $600, but it's worth like over 2 grand. And
Okay.
it's like a legit. I had a friend look at it. But anyway,
I'm sure a lot of classical violinists are happy to hear that.
yeah.
But quick, is that the first time you ever messed around with a fretless instrument?
I must have picked one up before in my life, but I can never really get it to
All
work.
right.
And also, you have to be so gentle with it. It's really weird going from guitar to violin because
Yeah.
you have to be in a lot of my instincts, including vibrato. Vibrato is like
Of
completely beyond
course.
a different way. Um, um, a lot of my instincts, I just had to like tell my brain to not think that way, which was it has been a fun exercise, and it feels kind of like playing chess or something. Like it feels like my brain is getting a workout.
I always think of this is totally unrelated, but still related. I always think of the violin player in Yellow Card, and for some reason, that song popped into Spotify like 3 months ago. Ocean Avenue, and man, that was a ripper back in the day. They know how to write a tune,
I
but
remember that. I actually, funny story real quick, I wrote a song with that guy.
what do you remember his name? What's the blonde, the main guy, the shaved head?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's Ryan. I think it's Ryan.
he looks like Ryan
He looks
Gosling. So yeah.
he's a Nashville guy. We wrote together, and he turned out to be a really cool guy. And but yeah, it's just funny because like Yellow Card is well, they're a huge band when we were younger.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, let's go back to that. So you and I know each other. I mean, we go back a long time. Shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably, for people who don't know, Vlad and I grew up in a town called Mahwah, northern New Jersey. I have no idea how old you were when you moved there. How old?
I was 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you came straight from, correct me if I'm wrong, Romania, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And when you moved here when you were 10, I mean, were you fucking around with any I started playing guitar when I was 10. So were you doing any kind of music at that age at all, or did it kind of come to you a little later?
No, I was 12 when I started.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I don't think I ever told you this, but you were a huge influence on me playing guitar. Like for real.
Most thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Dude, for real, so if anybody doesn't know, you were in a few bands
Most yeah.
when we were in high school together. And I remember I was like, fuck, that's what I want. I want to be like Mike Johnson.
Mm. You're
Like
the
for
first
real.
person to ever say that. Yeah.
And the last.
Yeah, definitely.
No. No, and then I remember I bought like a wah wah pedal off of you, and I was like, wow, how
Okay,
cool.
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like one of those crybabies. Anyway, yeah. So I started playing when I was 12, and I wanted to be in a band, and yeah, that kind of just took off from there. And I literally have never done anything else with my life
Yeah. Well,
since. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, it was a little interesting because your older brother played music with you also, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And
So
and was it kind of, I forget, how did he end up the bass player? I mean, did he ever try another instrument? It's so funny how musicians figure out the instruments, right? I have
yeah,
theories. Like, I think every guitar player wants to be a drummer. Like, if you put a
that's
guitar player,
true.
right? If you give us dudes like
Yeah.
just 20 minutes in a room with the drum set, it's like the happiest we could ever get. But did he
Yeah, but
want to be a
somehow
bass player?
yeah, no, yeah. You know how people end up being bass players, like for real, a lot of times. Because let me just say, there are some of the best musicians in the world are bass players, but a lot of them aren't. And my brother was one of those. He no, he's a totally fine bass player, but I think it was just like, oh, less strings, easier to play. Don't even have to really learn chords. But Matt and I, my brother and I, we both bought like the Squire starter packs,
Yeah,
where it came with like a small amp and a cable
yeah,
and a guitar, like really shitty
yeah.
guitar that. So and then he got the bass version, but I think originally at a certain point we almost switched because we were just like, I don't know, let's just do whatever. Um, I wasn't really that keen on guitar per se. I was just like, but then like the more I played it, the more I was like, wait, this is like, it became like my one true passion in my life, like
Yeah.
period.
And to put like the listeners and the viewers, kind of in a perspective, the point in history that Vlad and I are talking about is kind of an interesting point of history and geographically. We're talking about like the early 2000s, northern New Jersey, which at the time was creating a scene of its own that people wouldn't
Hmm.
really give a shit about till kind of later on. We
Yeah.
look back on it now with nostalgia, but like I remember seeing, this was a time where you could see, like My Chemical Romance and Taking Back Sunday in a VFW hall in Ridgewood in front of
Yeah.
like 40 people. So like
Yeah.
that's the time which is in northern New Jersey. All these bands, Saves the Day, Midtown. So that leads me kind of to the next question. So you and your brother started a band. Was Jet Lag Gemini the first band that you guys started?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
I think, um, yeah, it was called Sight Unseen before then.
Of course it
And,
was.
and, and I remember we had our first show at Skaters World in Wayne. Um, and a bunch of our friends from school came and made us feel like rock stars, which, it's funny because like when you have like a supportive like friend group, like when you're in a high school band, it is such a funny, it's really like, it really makes you want to get further because you get so hyped up so quick, and all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, I'm like in a band and there's people coming to the shows and stuff. But then like when reality hits and you get out of high school, it's a little different. But no, it was so we started that band, and then Misha, a friend of ours who was in another band, they wait, you were in Misha's band
Yeah.
for
Okay.
a little bit.
To be honest, I might have introduced Misha to you guys at that. It was all kind of congealed
Ah,
and
you know what? That's
incestual.
very possible. Also,
Yeah,
I knew I was friends with Eric Lisnow,
most
who
definitely. Yeah.
who was playing guitar in the band actually, before maybe we changed our name, but he, I know, well, so his brother Jesse, who you
Yeah.
were good friends with, um maybe somehow that also, yeah, I don't remember how we met Misha, to be honest,
Shout
but
out to Eric List now, dope tattoo artist, still doing it good.
hell yeah,
He's doing great shit.
man, I'm so bummed I still have to get a tattoo by him at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yes. All right. So you meet Misha, and the reason we're even talking about this band is because something interesting happened to you guys at a pretty young age. So you start the band, you start playing shows, does it kind of quickly build, tell us the story of what happened with that band.
man, I don't know. I mean, like, I wouldn't say abnormally quickly anything. Like, it's really funny because, like, I went to my high school reunion recently, and it's insane, like that their like their perception of what happened during those
Sure.
times and how like huge jet lag was in their mind, or like it's insane because it was not a reality in my where I was sitting. Anyway, we drew a few people for sure. Um, but it was mainly because, like we said, around that time there were music scenes. Kids were going to shows. I remember one of our first shows, we literally rented out a place called um Archer Hall, and it was in Allendale
Yeah.
at the end of like Main Street,
Yeah.
and
It wasn't like an old church.
it was an old church,
Yeah.
and literally kids would just go there for any show.
Yeah.
So we rented it out, and we played a show there. I think we had a band called The Problem Play. I remember. Do you remember them?
Tim is going to be happy we're talking about him. Tim, who would be in that band, who might have been in that band at the time, was
Okay.
at my apartment last week.
No way.
Yeah, he's
Wow.
traveling through the West Coast. He crashed here for a night.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah,
That's
funny.
awesome.
That's all coming full circle.
I remember really liking that band.
Yeah, Christian was the leader of that band. Dope band.
Sick. So so we put it on in at a show and charged $10, and I made $3,000, which is, there was like 300 people or however many fit in there, really. And it's just insane, man, because like that fell apart at a certain point, but in that moment people were just, and especially young kids, they were just like wanting to go out and like smoke cigarettes and yeah, and yeah, exactly. So we were very lucky to be a part of that, even though we never really fit musically with many people there. We always felt a bit like outcasts. Like we weren't, like it was kind of a predominantly emo I want to say, like a scene, but it felt like we weren't enough of that, even though listening back to it now it's like, oh wow.
Well, you guys had guitar solos.
Yeah, and guitar solos. I was like, yeah. So that was weird, and some people thought it was cool. So we did have some fans for sure. And then I think I was like, so I was 15 maybe when we started the band. And then when I was 17, we were recording an album, and we got a record deal, and we were touring. And yeah, it was fucking awesome. Like that was the dream. Yeah, so that's kind of where I learned how to be a touring musician, or even just where I learned like what I wanted out of music, and I don't know, that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah, well, I kind of want to stay there for a moment, because it's almost, we're recording this 15 years later than the time frame you're talking about.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about, at least in the music business, is almost an archaic model. You're talking about a small indie label that found a young band. They're like, hey, we want to give you a couple of bucks. We're going to give you a van. We're going to throw you on a tour, as the opening band of 5 bands or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that is happening nowadays for bands anymore.
Yeah. I'm not sure, honestly, but I don't think so. I know for a long time that it's just, I mean, the internet is the new way of discovery, and I still do really believe in touring and the human interaction part of it, but financially it's really hard for people, and it's left like it's almost like only available for rich kids, or for people, yeah, with labels that will spend a lot of money, not even a lot, but we'll try to chip in a little bit, which doesn't really happen that much until you're like have a fan base, like for real, like, because labels are only looking at numbers nowadays. Spotify plays, Instagram followers. It's pretty bullshit, to be honest. It's really hard for anybody that has anything special to stick out, unless they do it on their own, and then people want to capitalize on that. The music industry is the most fucked industry in the world, and I have given up on it a long time ago, and it was the best. It was the moment I said fuck everybody, and I don't have a team right now. I don't have any team, and I haven't for a long time. The moment I said like fuck all that bullshit, and that's like when my music career took off more than ever, and I was able to actually make a proper living off of doing what I do. So
all right. So again, I'm a linear kind of dude. So I'm gonna go back.
yeah.
So jet lag, Gemini. You do a video. I mean, again, you guys lived that dream as an 18-year-old kid. You literally were living the dream. You know, you don't have to speak of, you know, whether you were making any money or not. That's who knows. But you know, at that
I
time,
can tell you, no.
exactly. So
we were
from
definitely
the horse's
never
mouth.
made any.
Yeah. But when you're
Definitely.
18, you don't give a fuck. Dude, when you're 25, you don't give a fuck. You want to be in that van. You want to be playing those shows. You want to be part of a scene, right? I mean, again, we're talking about a
No, I
scene.
mean, this was all our dream, and we were willing to. I mean, we've stayed in some sketchy ass apartments and houses around America with some really fucking weird people, like dangerous situations, because it was free and we met them that night of the show, and we're, you know, also really met some amazing people and had amazing experiences. So it all worked out. I'm so happy to have experienced that at a young age. I think it really shaped you know, me.
Well, yeah, and it did, because you did kind of what most people don't do. You didn't quit. So when that band broke up, what happened next? You didn't quit music. You kind of wanted to keep going. So you started another band, right?
I started another band. You know, with jet lag, I wasn't the singer. I didn't really.
Were you writing anything in that band?
Yes, yes, but yeah, we did write together. It was mainly Misha and I that were writing. But honestly, like, I have to take it to the next level where I was like, well, now I have to write by myself and I have to learn how to sing. Like, for real, I didn't know how to sing.
Yeah.
And not that I know now, but it's like, it was I was always a shy kid, and to get up on stage like as the front guy, I never wanted that, to be honest. I was totally fine just playing lead guitar and
like the Slash.
yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I was definitely a fan at that point. But yeah, like I just wanted to. It was nice.
I mean, not like Slash and his playing, Slash and like be the dark dude on the side who fucking rips the solos. You know, no one really could see his face.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I'll step out to the front of the stage for like, you know, 30 seconds and I'll go back.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that I love that. I actually kind of miss that in some ways, but yeah, I had to, like, everybody wanted to stop because it wasn't financially happening, and there was a lot of things that were promised to us, as you know how it is, and I know a lot of people know how that is, and like, no hard feelings for anybody in my band that wanted to quit at that point, but it was yeah, they wanted to go back to school to like get real jobs or whatever.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fucking mental, like, it was a lot of work to be in.
And you're young. I mean, you're not like in your 20s. You're still a teenager.
And we're young, and we were like the proper band, in the sense that like we barely even had a leader. Like, everything needed to be approved by all of us.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like, it's very hard for that to ever work for a long period of time. Anyway, so I had started a new band and wrote some songs, sang some songs. Took me a while to find my voice, to be honest. For the longest time, even listening back to that early stuff, I was trying to sing at the top of my range, and I have a low voice. I was trying to always sing at the top of my range, just to kind of like fit in, which is the dumbest thing I could have done. But I figured it out later that I don't need to do that, and I can just more be me rather than trying to emulate something else or whatever.
What was the name of that band?
It's called Born Cages.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And did you guys hop in the van at all with that act? Did you hit
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, we definitely did a bunch of
was
songs
that
off.
the incarnation that stayed in my apartment
Yeah.
but just the different members and shit like that?
Yeah, we did go
Okay.
through a few member changes again because at that point you're a little older. I was like maybe 20 to 26.
Yeah.
Or 21 to 27, something like that.
Yeah.
It was both bands lasted 6 years, which is funny. But yeah, so went through some member changes because at that point in people's lives, it's a little harder to sacrifice all of that time, and it's a little harder for people to just go on the road without any financial, like, to just literally go and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, can I ask you a quick little technical question?
Yeah.
Along this road, nowadays you spend a lot of your time recording your own music. As the records are going, the bands are going, things are maybe going a little up. Are you paying attention to the studios you're in, the equipment they're using? Are you kind of geeking out on any of that shit back then?
Yeah.
I mean, because the sounds of your records back then, audio wise, they're fantastically engineered. Those Born Cages records are great. Audibly, they're fantastic sounding. I don't know where were those recorded.
So a lot of that actually I did, but I was learning how to produce at that point again because I didn't have money to pay people to do it. So I was like, that's something where I post my first band. I was like, I really got to get better at Pro Tools. At that point, I was in Pro Tools, and yeah, so I was paying close attention, and then basically this guy John Kaplan, who did my first band, who produced my first band, he did a record for Born Cages, and he's a great producer. And I think he mixed like the last that Black Pumas record that maybe it didn't win a Grammy, but it was Grammy nominated this past year.
I'm sorry, whose record?
Black Pumas, the Black Pumas, yeah. And
is he a Jersey dude?
He was a New York City guy, and he's in LA right now.
Nice.
So we recorded a lot in Williamsburg on Prince Street, which is funny. A funny story there, like quick little thing. It was called Mission Sound, and it's an amazing studio. Yeah. This guy Ali, he has a daughter who sang backup vocals background vocals on the Born Cages album. And she was like trying to be a singer at that point. And now she's like so famous. Really? She's huge. Her name is King Princess.
Have you kept in touch with her by any chance?
Not really.
Yeah.
I think I ran into her once and we said what's up.
Nice.
But yeah. But anyway, it's kind of funny how that happened. Yeah. Anyway, so we were just doing it, and John Kaplan kind of took my demos and we recorded real drums over them, and we recorded a few things on top to like better some of the sounds that I was making, but a lot of the stuff like stayed on there. And then there was 2 songs that I fully produced myself on that record. I just wanted to Truth, baby, and Moving On, but anyway, I was at that point I was just like trying to figure out how to do it myself more and more, even though I never had the money to like actually record through like a proper console and stuff. But nowadays, like, you know how it is.
Well, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Dave Grohl story, a much toned down version of it.
Uh-huh.
But like when Dave Grohl, for people who don't know, like when Kurt Cobain passed away, there were 2 other dudes in the band, right? So Dave Grohl would go on to create a band called the Foo Fighters. But that first record, I mean, was him just like working these demos, trying to figure out, he knew I think he was writing those songs even when Nirvana existed.
Yeah.
He talks about talking with Kurt about showing him these tunes and stuff like that. But I mean, it kind of just goes to show like you know, there's a couple kind of people in this world, but like some people, like when shit hits the fan, you know, you keep going. You got to keep going.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what, man, I've been through I've been around a lot of musicians and people in my life that did stop. And I guess that's just honestly it's a fucking hard thing to do, and I get it. But I never had a doubt that I would keep going even if I would be living in a van. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so not saying that that's like the right way to do it, but I just I'm glad that I knew what I wanted to do with my life when I was 12 years old, and I stuck to it with it. And but yeah, there's a lot of people that I've met that like kind of stopped doing it. Some very talented too. So I don't know.
Real quick, what was the highlight of that band?
Huh.
Any shows, any kind of memory? I mean, you were in the band for 6 years. You guys stayed in my house, my apartment, my
Yeah.
old place on Haight Street. You guys played the rickshaw stop, which actually to this day is the only backstage area I've been in that has a I don't know if you remember this, but I do, a soda dispenser, but for beer.
Oh my God, I don't remember that, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, that's how
awesome.
that was the bat. Yeah, it was like and you pressed instead of like Dr. Pepper, it was like, you know, fucking Pabst.
That's wow. I don't remember that,
Yeah.
man, but I
I
do
remember
remember
it
that
because I
show.
was backstage and drinking free beer. I think that's why.
Hell yeah. Well, how can you forget that?
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that was I love that venue. I remember that. That was a good tour. Um, and I don't know. We did a tour with a band called Family Force 5 that was like kind of a weird audience, but it was the biggest tour that we did, and that was really fun. Like every night we knew it would be like a sold out show. So
Yeah.
that's always like kind of the dream.
And you're
And
getting the experience to play bigger rooms, bigger stages, different monitor
yeah,
setups, which as you know, a younger musician, you know, a live musician, it's huge to
yeah.
get that experience.
We also got gold record for a song that was on Now 45. Now that's what I call music, which is like a compilation album. And it was, you know, it was like pop songs like Taylor Swift and stuff. And we were like one of the last songs there. So I have a gold record from that. So that was a cool thing, I guess.
So that band goes to shit like most bands do.
Yeah.
Was it amicable? Like, I'm assuming it was kind of, you were just like, I'm going to do something else. I mean, what was that transition like? I mean, did you immediately go into the solo work that you're doing now?
I actually did a song under a solo project while Born Cages was still happening. Just one. It was almost like maybe testing the waters, but yeah, it was hard, man. Like it was, I loved the people who, especially Dave and Matt. I was in the band with last. We were a three-piece, but at the end of the day, like we just weren't making enough money or doing enough things for everybody to like really stay in it with stay, you know, to keep their head in the game. And it was exhausting because I always tried to, even though I wrote all the songs, like any money that came in, I tried to split it with everybody, but it just wasn't enough. And when, you know, you get older, it just wasn't enough. So like, I think that's one of the main reasons I stopped doing that. And then also, to be honest, dude, like the main downfall was and it was the last time I'll do it, but we were talking to Atlantic Records or yeah, Atlantic and maybe one other major label, and you know, you hear things that you don't want to, that's a bad idea, but still at that point we were like, we need money or we need to be put in a place where we can succeed more.
Who are you hearing these things from? Your managers, agents, or from the label? Or at that point, are they all one and the same?
No, well, our managers were really trying, but we were meeting with like the A&R at Atlantic, who's a fucking piece of shit.
So
I
the
don't
A and
remember his
R,
name.
but just so I'm on the same level, the A and R person is the person you're
A&R.
referencing when they're literally saying these things you don't want to hear.
No, so what actually what they were saying was we like the band. We just think there isn't a song yet. Like of the new music that we were presenting, they're like, I don't think there's like a hit single yet. So then I started writing songs that I thought might be hit singles, which is literally the most toxic. I've said this before, but it's the most toxic headspace that you can be in to create anything, is to write for thinking, oh, this person might, I think that they might like this, so let me try to write a cheesy pop song or whatever. And it ended up being just shitty songs for me and for them and for everyone involved. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll look back at that and think, oh, why didn't I release some of those? But uh, it was so toxic. And then at the end of the day, they were stringing us along for half a year when we were really low already, and then that's when we were just like, man, screw this, like, can't do it anymore.
I have, the picture of the A&R guy forever in my mind is like late 90s, dude in the back of the club, his job is to like, he's not a cool person, but his job is he's supposed to be cool.
Dude, that's, yeah,
And he
I wish.
literally gets like his job is to be comfortable around the talent, right? And I picture like a scene in like High Fidelity or some like classic movie or whatever. I don't know if it's like that anymore nowadays. I mean, was that kind of like that? Did you have that experience of like the sleazy A&R? No.
No. I don't think I've ever met that guy,
Do they even
but
exist anymore? I don't even know if they exist anymore.
I'm sure they don't. Nowadays, A&R people worry about TikTok, and honestly, I don't want to be anywhere around that. But um, no, the A&R people that I've kind of been around are they themselves think that they are the rock stars and that you should be on, like, so grateful to be in a room with them because they have the power to change your life. That's kind of the vibe that I get, and it's such bullshit. It's all failed musicians.
Interesting. I always thought it was like people who went to Pepperdine.
Yeah,
or
I
maybe
don't
they went
really.
to Pepperdine and they also tried to be in a band.
Yeah,
Like my
like for a
Bulldogs.
brief.
Everyone knows Reeb on the podcast. She was eating my literally
Oh
eating
man.
my shorts.
Oh man, I love that.
Yeah. All right. So now, that band, you're like, all right. Did you see that?
Oh, cutie.
So that ends again. Mostly, let me ask you this question: if you guys were making money at that time, would you have kept that project going?
Probably because there would have been a lot less negativity, so we probably would have been in a better headspace. Yeah. And it sucks to think like that, man, because I get that, like, I'm not doing this to make money, like, and I don't think, I mean, some people do. I don't think I've ever really surrounded myself with people that were like only doing it for the money at all. But at a certain point, I was in a different situation because I was like writing the songs, I was the front guy, and then like everybody else felt a little less um um eager to give their whole life up to this. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, I've experienced with this. Like the last band I was in was called, I'm sorry, the second to last band I was in that I was touring with was called Pasole, and it was
Yeah.
it literally all hinged on one guy. And when he decided that it was just no longer, like, I was just like, well, what the fuck, So that dynamic is there. There's a responsibility there. People have,
Yeah.
other priorities.
I will say I've only really been in two bands, I guess, but I've never quit on anybody. I've only waited until everybody knew that this wasn't what they wanted to do. Like I didn't I would never do that. I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you it dissolves. You had started writing these solo songs. Did you play a
Yeah.
show? I mean, were you at open mic the next night? I mean, how quick, how quick, yeah, how quickly did you?
Sort of, dude. Actually, it's funny you say that. Uh,
Did you
so
ever play the open
basically,
mic at the living room? Is the living room still there?
man, I don't even know. I'm not sure.
That I
But
played
no,
there.
I
Yeah,
never really did an open mic in my life.
you've never
But
done an open mic,
no, no,
Vlad.
I don't know why.
You, next time next time I see you, dude, we're gonna go out of our way to find an open mic,
Let's
and you
go.
and we'll play a song together.
I would love that. I would love that.
That's crazy.
So I started the solo project, well, for a few reasons, but the sound of it that was, I'm still developing, I guess, but I kind of wanted with my last band, it was like, um, I wanted it to be really big sounding and like anthemic in a way where it kind of it just happened that that's what I wanted the songs to be like. And then my publishing company kept asking me to write more songs like that for like sync for TV and film and stuff. And I did some, and there were like I started doing it a lot, and I was just so bored of doing like here's a grand entrance to a big chorus.
But also that was kind of the sound at that time. And correct me if I'm wrong. We're talking about bands like when Muse was the fucking biggest band in the world,
Yes.
and like
Yeah.
Arctic
Yeah.
Monkeys were putting out fucking power records, and
Yeah. Right.
I think of it as power rock. That's what I've always in my head. It's power rock.
Yeah. Which, yeah, honestly, like it was fun, and it was about like I wanted the live show to be like intense and energetic and like a fun thing for everybody. And anyway, I said I want to do the complete opposite now. So I started writing like songs that were intentionally lo-fi, like like the sounds I wanted them to be almost emulating, because at the time I didn't really have a lot of analog. I recorded guitars, but I didn't have like old shit. I didn't have tape. I didn't have tape delays or tape machines or anything. So I was just like kind of trying to emulate that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And um and to sing lower and to be for every song's tempo to be like 5 BPMs slower than what it should be.
Well, I mean, but you said this was a conscious decision, right?
Yeah, so I was like that's what I want to go for. I want to do something that was just new to me. And that's where I started, and Quit Playing Cool is the song that I came up with. That was the first one I released, and then kind of took it from there. Yeah.
Were you still well, you said Pro Tools earlier, but you're not a Pro Tools guy anymore, right? You're
No,
yeah.
no.
So had you already made that change in software? Were you recording in Logic at that point?
Actually, no. Quit Playing Cool was the last song I did in Pro Tools.
Okay.
And
Why did
then
you change? And why then?
man,
Why then?
for a year, because my workflow was just not, I knew it could be better. And
Okay.
for years, people were trying to get me to change. I had a write with this guy, Dave Tozer, who is like a big Logic producer. And I think he was like teaching at NYU, like a Logic course. And he like talks to Apple about like implementing his ideas into it. He's like a head producer kind of guy. He did like John Legend's All of You and stuff like that. So he was like, dude, you gotta just like bite the bullet and learn it. And he gave me some notes. I still have like a note on my phone with like certain shortcuts or certain like ways to do things. And within a week, I was like so much faster than I ever was in Pro Tools. I was in Pro Tools for 10 years at that point.
I mean, it's a heated debate, dude. I mean, it's like Pepsi Coke.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking to, I went to audio engineering school to learn Pro Tools specifically.
Yeah.
It's like, or Mac PC.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, and in a way, and yeah, it's like Mac versus PC, and in a way, well, first of all, Logic is Apple. You can tell that it was made by Apple because it just makes sense. And then Pro Tools is like supposed to more emulate like actual hardware,
Well, yeah,
and
Logic is, they always say it's the more musical software.
yeah, and it's just a lot easier to you have an idea,
Yeah.
you you put it down. I mean, honestly, I'm not a purist. I love old instruments, but I will pull up the Mellotron sound on Logic like any day and run it through some guitar pedals or whatever to fuck it up a bit. But like, there's nothing wrong with that. The sounds alone that it comes with and it's $200. Like, it's nuts. It's so stupid
And
cheap.
you could use any interface. I mean, yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
get the
right. The
yeah,
interface, yeah. Because I had a fucking M box before, I think.
I get the conversation for sure. I remember I learned on the M Box 2, Pro Tools version 6.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I might have
Fuck,
been
dude.
in 7. And before Pro Tools, by the way, the first time I ever tried any sort of music production or writing, like putting it on paper, Fruity Loops.
Never did it. I definitely fucked with Cubase, right? The
Yeah.
early, but dude, I mean, my first recordings, man, and this is, now we're dating ourselves because now we're getting old. Dude, I had the 4-track Tascam with the little faders, but you could double the you could like record over on the same tracks. You could do 2 takes on 1 track to make it a 8-track. And me,
Yeah.
Tim, who we talked about earlier, dude, him and I would get fucking baked in my basement. I don't know if you remember my basement, but it was, we would get baked down there, and we recorded like half of Dark Side of the Moon. just just me. I was on guitar, he was on drums.
I love
And
that.
yeah, just teach. We only had 2 microphones for the drums.
Yeah.
And,
Dude, I have that. I think I have that. I have a Teak 144. It's like a
yeah.
4-track
Well,
cassette
now
tape.
you come full circle because now your whole
Yeah.
thing is fucking with old shit. So, all right, yeah. So let's kind of get back to that. You make that transition. Is that when you also kind of decide to stop? And correct me if I'm wrong, but you kind of started maybe doing more just singles releases as opposed to full albums, and
Yeah, I don't really know why that happened, but I think I was just taking a long time to write because I was creatively a little like, I don't know. I wasn't in the best place maybe. But yeah, I was like, why not just put it out song by song? Rather than work towards a body, because there was no formula anymore. All of that had gone out the window, and the music industry kind of figured that out.
they
Which, by the
figured
way,
out that they don't know what the fuck is going on.
yeah, I'm a huge fan of albums. I still haven't put out an album with my solo thing, but I don't know if I will anytime soon um, because I don't know. It's just it's nice to be able to write something and to put it out. I remember I put out a song called "Like in the Movies," which was one of my bigger solo songs.
Love, great song. That's probably my, but I love the Born Cages stuff. But yeah, that's a great tune, my man. For people who
Thanks,
check that out, that's a great song.
appreciate it. So with that song, I literally, like I think 2 days before it came out, I was still working on it, and I submitted a revision to the distributing company, whatever. Um, and then yeah, and it's kind of crazy, like to be able to do that, and on my end to like be like, actually, I want to change it a little bit. And then nowadays, actually, I can't really do that anymore. It needs to be like a month in advance. But the fact that I could do it like 2 days before, and then it came out and it got put on New Music Friday, which is like one of the biggest playlists there is on Spotify, or the biggest. So like kind of crazy because I did it all by myself and I had no idea any of that was going to happen. And again, yeah, I love how DIY it was and is still. And that I'm able to just work on it all the time and put it out as I want to, rather than I need to work on an album for like 5 years and then, you know what I mean? And then like put it out, and then get it mastered and all that stuff. And
I mean, it's a, you know, it's a whole different world now. And, you know, like there are bands who can do that. Like a band that I'm sure you and I are both fans of, The Strokes, right? Like The Strokes are a band that I will wait 7 years for them to put
oh,
out.
totally.
And I know when that record comes out, it's going to be a piece of art that I will be able to cherish the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's different with a band like that, man, because like we all want to be at that point, and I would love to do that too, but you have to, there's like a fight to stay relevant, which is a really fucking horrible idea. But even with with my own fans, for example, my all of my fans, like the general like thing that I get from them is that they really like what I'm doing, which I'm so thankful. They really like that I'm doing what I'm doing. They know that not a lot of people, they know that I'm underrated, or they say that like and I feel like they almost like the fact that I'm like a little secret, like best kept secret kind of thing. So I don't even know where I was going with that, but I think it was like,
well, we were talking about albums and, you know, how people release music nowadays.
yeah,
You know, again, I
right.
don't.
So it's right.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you know, you can name a whole bunch of artists. You know, John Mayer comes to mind immediately. He's the kind of dude who he'll just unannounced will put out a single.
Right.
You know, and there'll be a whole social media campaign behind it. And he's kind of one of the people who, but he's still putting out albums.
Yeah,
And he's a person I pay attention to only because, well, for a couple of reasons, but he keeps a pulse on what the fuck is going on, and I use him as kind of my antenna of, I don't listen to too much popular music,
yeah.
but he's my antenna of like, what's the business doing right now, you know, for a dude who plays the guitar.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, going forward, you know, are you sitting on a you know, is there a Prince vault of music that you have that people don't know about that we'll find 30 years from now? Or, you know, what is your well, what's your process? I mean, are you always writing shit that you just kind of keep away, and how do you do it?
And then I rediscover it and I finish it. That's kind of my process, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know, like I haven't announced it yet, but I'm putting out an EP in November. So it is going to be like 6 songs in one go, which normally I don't. I've only done that once before, put out an EP, but everything else was just single. So like,
I love
I don't
EPs,
know.
man. EPs are will always be my favorite release format. I love EPs, man.
Yeah. There's also less pressure because people think that when you're putting out an album, like the music industry thinks that okay, so that you're like trying to get a Grammy, or like you're trying to do this, or you're trying, you know what I mean? Like there's like a little more pressure. But not that any of that is fucking real or tangible. It doesn't really matter. None of it matters. All that matters though, I know where I'm sitting. I wish that I was putting out more music. So I'm just trying to consciously do that. And I already have like songs for the next EP that I'm finishing up before I'm releasing this. I just want to release more music, and I'll probably release like a song a month leading up to it, like 3 or 4, and then something like that. So like, yeah, in a way it's almost still like singles, because then people can pay attention to each song, and it's a little more, you know what I mean? It's a little more like not just like, here's a whole body of work and some of it might just like fall through the cracks.
It's tough. I mean, you know, but music, you know, I've steered away. I still play live music, but you know, it's not something I'm sitting here pursuing right now. I've been writing a lot, and with writing, it's you spend hours and hours, thousands of hours alone working on something that most people are probably not going to like right off the bat.
Yeah.
With music, you know, as a listener, within whatever 7 seconds, whether you
Yeah.
want to keep listening to the fucking
Yeah.
song, right? With a book, dude, it's like I can spend 5 years. I spent 5 years writing a rock and roll novel that is pretty much done, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
I read it, and I'm like, I would read this book, but a book is so much
Yeah.
investment of time. Where it come with music, it's just like, how much effort is it to go on a Spotify playlist? But here's the thing, and let me ask you this question. Let me ask you your opinion about this. When Napster came along, people said it was the end of the music business and that it would lower the playing field. Now that
Mhm.
everyone can record, a double album in their, basement,
Yeah.
it has it lowered the playing field. Do you find, is it a different battle to get your music heard? Is there so much shit out there that
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, but also like it's just a different. There's different obstacles. Like that's the obstacle is that everybody can put out music and does. And how do you get heard? How do you get listen? How do you get listeners if people are just constantly getting stuff thrown at them? It's a bit overwhelming. But honestly, I'm a firm believer that that people will they'll find out stuff that they like, artists that they like. I mean, honestly, like I've been doing this a long time, and I think there's a lot of people out there that definitely don't know me or maybe never will that would like my music,
of
right? So
course.
like, so, but in one way or another, if I'm keep active, like they might just hear of me and then go back on my, you know,
Well, people are so fucking fickle. It's like, it always reminds me of the Louis C.K. joke. Like, I know everyone hates him, but he was funny at one point. And he had some really funny jokes. But people can just not like you because of your haircut. And
yeah,
again, but if they heard your music, and the joke he's talking about is he's like standing in line at a bank, and there's a dude in front of him who's wearing shoes that he just doesn't like. And the joke is he's just like, I hate this guy. I want this guy
yeah,
to die. Right? Like it's just like you could hate someone so much for
hmm
a t-shirt they're wearing. With the music thing, it's interesting. I find authors nowadays, even with social media, there has to be a presence. They have to have a look. There has to be a
yeah.
thing. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, how much are you fucking thinking about, what
Well,
you're doing?
to be honest, dude, that was one of the things that I let go of a long time ago. Um, but when you're in a band and you're trying to be successful and you're young and you think about all that stuff. You're like,
Of course.
wait, maybe like my haircut is really dumb and people are like, oh, I don't even want to listen to that shit. You know what I mean?
I'm
And then
not
you
wearing the
start
right
thinking about,
Dickies pants or
yeah, like
yeah.
these pants aren't tight enough. These pants are too tight. Um, literally, it's like that is so toxic, and it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
And but they they might people like people can gravitate towards an artist more than just on the music, more than ever. Back in the day, music was better because anybody could
Wait,
make
wait,
music,
be
and you didn't.
careful, be careful. Think about what you're going to say.
No, no, because
Because I agree with you.
people didn't care even to even know what their famous what their like the music that they were listening to even looked like.
Of course.
If they didn't put it on the album cover, like their photo, you might not even fucking know. Was not in all cases, but and I think there's something really cool about that because then it was literally all about. It wasn't about like, how many do they have like a good following on TikTok or Instagram, and like what are their press photos like, and what kind of content are they sharing beyond their music. That's all. It's all noise, but in today's climate, you have to put yourself out there like that. Otherwise, it'll be a lot harder for people to find you.
Sure. And I mean, this all evolved, right? I mean, this started, I guess, the episode, with MySpace, right? With the friends.
Yeah.
How many friends did you have? And then you
Yeah.
had the Facebook page, and how many likes can you get? And you could hire bots to get fake likes, and that's how
To help
that's how I
increase
booked every fucking tour. Was just how many likes, and then it evolved to Instagram and now TikTok. Are you a forward thinking kind of dude? Where do you see this going? I mean, where do you see this all evolving into
I
5,
think
10?
I think it's gonna implode on itself, and people are gonna stop caring about that. I do think that. I don't know.
When you say that, do you mean all of social media?
Yeah. Or at least, yeah, I do. I think so. Social media is rotting our brains, mine included, and I am on it for sure. It's toxic, and it's creating it's bad for music because it's shortening our attention spans, and that's why albums aren't a thing. Because it would be nice to put together an album where, okay, this song in the middle just is a mood to get you to, let me think of it as a flowing thing, which I still can do, I just don't. But rather than,
you mean the sequencing of an album?
Yeah. Whereas
there is an art form to that.
There is an art form to that, but I'm saying people care about that less. They're more like,
yes,
give me like 10 singles.
Yeah.
And it's yeah. So but not even that, man. It's like, give me a single that can get people hooked within 2 to 5 seconds. Like,
his name is Billy Joe Armstrong.
Yeah, like it needs to be. Yeah, it needs to be like
Rivers Cuomo. I mean, you could break it down. We had this guy. You probably don't know the guy, but you know the topic of it. His name is John Seabrook. He's a New Yorker columnist, but he wrote a book. God, now the fucking. Totally just. Anyways, it'll come back to me. But the book is about this. It's the song machine. And he talks about pretty much Max Martin. You know who Max Martin is?
Yeah.
He breaks that shit down, dude. NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Jessica Simpson, Britney Spears. And you could almost break this shit down to a formula. It's been done in rock music. Rivers Cuomo talks about, he's done it. Do you look at music now as an equation? Do you look at music as still something that you just want it to be, do you wait for the muse? Are you a John Lennon or are you a Paul McCartney? How do you do it?
I wait for the inspiration, and I try to write a song that evokes a feeling, period. And has some lyrics that make you feel like that it's like something. My ideal lyric that's a good lyric is something that you can really relate to, but it hasn't really been said in that way, or you haven't, and it makes you feel like almost nostalgic or sad, or but in a good way, like, oh, I feel like I understand myself better after hearing that.
Do you write your lyrics? I'm sorry, do you write your lyrics before, after, or during?
During, most of the time during. Sometimes before, sometimes after. Most of the times, like, as I'm kind of figuring out what the music is doing and the vibe, and that feeling it. I'm trying to just create like a mood, really, with these songs, rather than let me write a pop song. That said, I've like, I do know like the basic structures of a pop song, and sometimes I follow some of the rules, but most of the time I'm glad to know the rules so I can break them. But yeah, that said, I don't know, like, I wrote a song for this guy and produced it, and it was like number 2 on the radio in Switzerland recently. And I'm
sorry, hold on. That's immediately like the plot of like a Will Ferrell movie.
Yeah.
Dude has a number 2 song on, but people will only know him in Switzerland, so he has to go to Switzerland, and he gets there. But since his song is only number 2, the promo isn't a lot. The whole movie, I just wrote it in my head. It's all there.
I love it. go with it.
That's
Roll with it.
hilarious.
And yeah, and this guy like did like a world tour for a long time, for like a year and a half with Shania Twain. So it was like cool to be able to do something like that for me, and to write like stuff like that too. But no, with my own music, I'm almost like I'm just trying to create. I've been trying to hone into a sound and a mood that I can literally just like fall back into, and to do more things in that vein. That was the goal, and it was a conscious goal. And I think that a lot of people try to do that because then at that point you have a fan base that kind of just like your songs, period. It doesn't need to be like reinventing the wheel on any level. They just like the vibe. And that's what I've been trying to do.
And following you, we're on opposite sides of the country. So, if I lived in New York, I'd be going to your shows. But it looks like you're playing shows solo. I mean, with backing tracks, and is that how you're doing it?
It depends. I have done that, and I've done it with a full band, like 5-piece. I've done it.
How do you do? Can you talk more about how you? How do you trigger those sounds? I mean, do you map all? Is everything mapped out to the?
Yeah, well, it depends on what the setup is. But there's
You
an
were big
SPD
into
pad.
light back in the day. You had the light. I mean, you were at when you always were into
Yeah.
that shit. So
I am into that stuff, but I'm also into like making it as real and human as possible for the live show, but also not to the degree where it's like, let me just not play this part because I can't hire a string quartet. But that said, it depends. It varies from show to show, to be honest, but a lot of stuff is either triggered on a SPD pad or mimicked in a certain way with like, even I have different songs that have a kick and snare trigger on the kick and snare drum, and it kind of goes to like what I used in that specific song, and just trying to get as close to like what I imagined on the recording,
And the dudes or the people who play in your band, I mean, are you doing a lot of rehearsals with them, or are they kind of just learning the tracks to the stuff they
kind of just learn it. Like, actually all my band is and living in LA right now, so that
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You've been a East Coast dude for for pretty much your whole life. I mean,
yeah.
Would you ever live in LA? You ever think about it? Is the business still there?
In New York?
No, in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it is.
That's where the business still is, right? I mean, that's where,
it is. So to answer your question, like, yeah, it would make sense for me to do that, but I don't think I'm going to do that. Honestly, like, it's a little, the people play the game a little too much there. And because of that, it's a little fake. It's a little too fake for me.
The LA thing to me always has been I'm laughing because we have a couple people in common that live in LA, and this has happened to me. The LA thing to me, it's the quintessential looking over your shoulder city. So like you and I are talking, and within 13 seconds, I'm trying to look over who else can I talk to that I can leapfrog?
Yeah.
That's always been, and I've been to some weird LA parties.
Yeah.
And that's every interaction with every human being I've ever dealt with there.
Yeah. No, I don't think I would do it, to be honest, but I do want to visit more, and I want to play shows there more for sure.
Yeah.
And I think I'm doing one in October. I'm trying to do one in October.
Did you announce? Are you going on tour again? Are you going on you announced something, right? You're opening for someone?
Yeah. In November and December, I'm doing a tour. That's not coming to the West Coast though.
Okay.
But I'm trying to play and tour as much as I possibly can. So I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I do want to come there more often, but I'm not going to live there. New York is the greatest city. It's so cliche to say it, but I can't. Every time I go anywhere else, even when it's somewhere like Nashville, which I have considered moving there,
Ugh.
and I have some really good friends there.
Don't go to Austin.
Uh, Austin,
Oh
Austin could be
God,
cool.
what a shithole. What a shithole.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I've never spent too much time in those
Did you
cities
ever
to
do
like
South?
really start.
Did you ever do South by?
I've done it like yeah, like 6, 7
Yeah,
times.
bro.
Yeah.
Austin sucks.
No, it's I have an Austin, Texas tattoo from South
No.
by.
What's funny because you think of like music cities and what's a music city nowadays? I don't know. I mean, the last music city was Nashville that like was popping, right?
Yeah,
People like the Black Keys, fucking Johnny
it's
Depp
yeah.
moved there.
No, it's still happening. Honestly, there's
Nashville is.
Nashville. The community there is
Uh-huh.
it's insane because like
I like
um
Nashville.
I played a show in a backyard that a friend threw a show in his backyard like last month
Okay.
um and uh and randomly Orville Peck was there, Jenny Lewis,
Oh, dude, I listened to Acid Tongue like 2 weeks ago. That record,
um
dude. Oh man, she is.
yeah,
Oh,
um and some other people I'm forgetting that Noah Cyrus, one of the Cyruses,
yeah.
and this Casey Musgraves, who's like friends with these people, but and she's great. But anyway, what I'm saying is like that happens in Nashville, and that wouldn't happen in New York.
It wouldn't.
And in LA, I guess there's probably like certain things like that happening. I don't know, but you know, I love this city too much to move from here, and I feel like I finally feel like a New Yorker. Whereas I was born in Romania and I moved to Jersey, and then I always looked at New York as like, man, that's where I want to be. But I feel like a Jersey kid, and I finally feel like a real New Yorker. And I can't describe the feeling, but it's I can't move to LA. I can't. I
I
can't
get
move
yeah, no,
anywhere.
I get it. LA is a vibe, man. The only place I live in SF. I've been here for 10 years, and I
Hmm.
love this city. But the city
Yeah.
it's a vibe. You have to be on this
Yeah.
vibe. If you're not, you're gonna hate it here.
Exactly.
But New York's. I was born in Queens, but we were raised where they filmed The Sopranos. But the
Yeah.
longer I stay away from Jersey, the more Jersey I become. It's weird as I get older. I don't know why.
That's funny.
But dude, I miss the thing about New York. It's just like, dude, I miss just get the fuck out of my way. I don't care about you. Like, let's
Yeah.
go, let's go. Everyone is hustling. No one's
Yeah.
wasting their fucking time.
Yeah.
Even if it's a dude who's making sandwiches at Subway, that dude is hustling. Like
Yeah.
everyone's on a hustle there. But if the hustle isn't your hustle, what do you do, right? So it's
Yeah.
interesting that you say that about Nashville. I don't know. I haven't spent time in the scene of Nashville. I've just
Yeah. It's a little more relaxed, but people there are a lot more. It's more about writing a song. Like that's
yeah.
like
I mean, shit.
than
Hootie and the
anything.
Blowfish, fucking Darius Ruckers. Look at him. I mean,
Um,
yeah, he's the perfect example.
there's a lot of amazing music history there, and I'm not so much in like the country pop thing, uh, where it's like kind of not really country, but it still has a twang. But yeah, I don't know. I have some friends that are in successful bands that are doing that, and they're amazing people, and uh, they're just like everybody's such a music lover there,
Yeah.
and I really love that.
Yeah.
And also the musicianship there, like if you walk into a bar, is probably the best in the world. Like it's insane. There's
Yeah.
like little American Legion halls where literally where people are going to square dance, and like the sickest lap steel player in the world is playing there, and it's like a donation based entry.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I met also one of my heroes, Jack White, there, and he has Third Man Records there. And he was like one of the nicest people I ever met. He gave me a guitar pedal, and that kind of like I like he's part of that too. He's been in Nashville a long time, and it's just like a certain kind of like air they breathe there. It's a little shocking from coming from New York and going there because everybody's so nice.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the Southern charm, right? It's the
Yes,
South, but not the South.
yeah, but not in the way where LA does it, where as soon as you turn your back, like they're like so nice to meet you, and it's like, oh, that fucking asshole.
LA,
like,
bro. LA is such a fucking weird
yeah.
place, man. It's so
Well, and honestly, if you know
weird.
how to, if you're career driven and you know how to work that, and that's what you want to do, then cool. But I honestly don't really want to be around people that play that game and they climb the social ladder, because obviously, like, some of my favorite musicians are big successful musicians, but that doesn't mean that the way that I don't think any I don't want to ever have like climb, like try to like weasel my way into a room like that. I'd rather just be me and hope that at some point I get to meet some people, which, like I just said, that happens sometimes. So it's like it's very rewarding when it does, and you're not like looking over everyone's shoulder or like who can I talk to that's more famous.
Yeah, I mean, and there's classic success stories of people getting launched through just, being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
There's whatever, one example kind of pops into my head, and it's just a bummer because they just announced their farewell tour. But one of the most talented rock and roll bands of the last 20 years, Dr. Dog, they got their start because Homeboy kind of knew the dude from My Morning Jacket, Jim James, and
Right.
and handed him literally handed him a demo, and
No, I love that.
was just and
different
then
times though, also.
what's that?
Different times though, but that is, I mean, that can still happen, and actually kind of does, where a celebrity will discover someone for one reason or another, and then you can then tweet about them, and it's like, here you go, roller coaster has started. But yeah, actually, a friend of mine, not to cut you off, but Alex Toth, he's in a band called Rubble Bucket that's from around here.
Wait,
but
from Vermont.
Are they from Vermont? Maybe.
I know Rubble Bucket. Yeah, well, they probably live in New York. No, they're a Vermont band. Okay. No, I know them. They I'm heavy into the jam band scene, and they were like when they first started, they were a little bit of like jam band darlings, but then people realized they weren't jamming. No, they're dope. They put on a dope live show.
Yeah.
Is he like the main guy out of the duo?
Yeah. And he has a solo project called just his last name, Toth, and he's doing that tour, the Dr. Dog.
Oh, okay, dope. Yeah, dude, I'm fucking bummed because their SF date. I hate when bands do this, but I get why. Their SF date is at Outside Lands, the big fucking festival.
Got it.
So me and my buddy, I don't know if you remember Andrew Sokoloff, but he lives out here. I got his tickets. They're playing we're gonna go to the Portland show.
Okay, cool.
Dude, cool. They're adding extra dates because it keeps selling out. They keep adding extra dates. And it's interesting right now. Maybe just you tell me, but booking shows right now, is it kind of weird coming out of this pandemic? Is there kind of like a backlog? Are people competing for dates?
Yeah, they are, but also, I mean, I only know New York because you don't just like call up random venues like to book your own tour. I guess you could, but maybe I should. But no, yeah, it was weird. So my first show back was at a venue called Berlin. Literally, I live like 1 block away from it.
Dope.
Second and A.
Is it like a rock club, or what kind of venue is it?
Yeah. Jesse Malin, do you know him? He owns it.
What's the name?
Jesse Malin.
Sounds familiar.
He's like kind of an East Village like been here a while. Like he releases his own music, and he's done stuff with like Billy Joe Armstrong and Bruce Springsteen, and like he's like all like he's kind of a big deal around
Does he
here, I
own
guess.
the club?
Yeah, he owns a few of
Dope.
like these bars that like are sometimes venues too, and
Kind
it's
of like a
like
pianos kind of vibe.
yeah, a little cooler than pianos, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean that was a
no, I
throwback. Is pianos even around anymore?
yeah, they
Oh
are.
shit, dude! Is
Yeah,
the Continental still around? That was
no,
a cool, fun little club in New York.
yeah, that was one of my favorites for sure. I have a T-shirt. I have a Continental T-shirt. It's a funny story because that was my first time playing in New York City
Okay.
with my first band, and we were opening up for a band called The Matches that we later from that show they became like our fucking gods.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think the guy lives in San Francisco, Sean
Oh,
Harris,
cool.
and
What?
he's an illustrator now for children's books, I think.
Cool. What was it? What's his name?
Sean Harris.
Sean Harris. Yeah, maybe I'll reach out if he's on Instagram or something. I'll reach out to him. That'd be dope.
Yeah, he is. I'll send you the handle.
Okay, great.
You
Yeah,
should
yeah.
definitely get him on your podcast.
Dope.
And man, so Jet Lag loved the Matches so much. I still do, but they blew us away. We opened for them at the Continental, and at some point, I think like Guns N' Roses played there, and I forget who else. A bunch of people. That place definitely, it's sad. That whole building is demolished.
Yeah.
So I walk by there now, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, I mean, there's classic SF clubs that like, that I feel like will always hopefully be here, like Bottom of the Hill. That was like that defined a whole fucking time of like that late 90s fat record scene. That was all
Cool.
Bottom of the Hill. There, but like New York, like CBGB's is fucking gone. Like what, dude, Roseland Ballroom, one of the coolest fucking venues ever, gone.
Yeah.
What, like, but I'm trying to think like what heady New York clubs are still like doing it. Is there like a Fillmore? Is there, what is?
I mean, I guess Irving Plaza, the Strokes just played there.
Yeah, that's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it
Webster
has.
Hall.
What?
And you know what? Now I'm answering my own question because now it's all coming to me. Webster
Yeah,
Hall,
Webster
Hammerstein
Hall
Ballroom.
is still happening. Yeah. Bowery Ballroom.
I saw Irving Plaza, one of the coolest things I've ever seen in live music. The show was, I couldn't tell you the opening band, but the middle band was My Chem. They had just literally that week had just released the record that would make them famous, 3 Cheers for Something.
Yeah.
The headliner was Face to Face. Dude, when fucking My Chem came on, when the lights went down, dude, when I say there was a rush of people that ran to the stage, dude, I've never seen anything like it in my fucking life. It was just, and like, this was a band, you were seeing a band that they knew they were going to be famous, but it just was about, it was, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
Yeah, man, I actually I love that. Yeah. We played there with my first band, and Misha like stage dive from like he climbed. I think he crowd surfed, and then he climbed. There's a video of it somewhere, and it's kind of sick, actually.
Yeah.
Irving Plaza was a really fun one.
So what's the future for you now? I mean, are you gonna focus? Are you looking forward to getting back on the road? I mean, how do you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, all right. So
I am.
You
but
love
it's again, it's like there's different levels of it. Like depending on what tour, I might be doing a bunch of solo like shows, like just
you're
me.
adapting,
yeah. Or if it's like a legit tour, then I'll bring out more people and like play like I really want to. If there's like money to be, or people, so I could like afford to do all that. So I don't know. That's really the dream, and to just keep releasing music. Like that's kind of it.
And maybe become a better violin player, right?
Maybe that. I'm getting there though.
Vlad, dude, thanks so much for taking the time, man.
Oh hell yeah, it was
Oh,
great to catch up, man.
oh yeah, what a blast, man. Obviously we've talked about it. Let people know your handles and whatnot, the social media, what you do, where you are.
Yeah, it's just at Vlad Holiday on Twitter. I don't know why I said Twitter first. I never go on there. On the social medias stuffs. And yeah, I don't know. Check out my music on Spotify or Apple Music, and if you haven't, and hope you dig it.
Dude, thanks so much, man.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
All
talk
right.
to you later.
Cheers. Later.